Hello everyone, I'm Twisted, and this is going to be the tier list for Arena. Um, I've probably put about 400 games of Arena if we're counting, last PB, its Soul Fighter release, and the current time on PB. So I feel like I'm fairly knowledgeable about, all the champions in the game, and I'm going to be rating them. It's going to be like a simple Z to D tier. Most of it is going to be just in between S and D. Z is going to be reserved for like champions that are just so exceptionally broken that it'll feel criminal to just ram them into S with other champions. So let's get started here. Aatrox. Aatrox is like okay at dueling. He has good damage. He has decent build variety. He can get he suffers in some situations against certain champions. Oh, okay. What do I'm gonna say he's A. Ari's kind of useless. She doesn't really do a whole lot. She D tier though. I mean, if you can get like magic missile and stuff, she's like okay. She does like okay damage, especially with magic missile. I'll put her C. Probably has good damage. She has decent mobility. Her invis is pretty good. She has good itemization. I'll put her in D tier. Akshan is D tier. He's not very good. If you're picking a marksman, there's like a handful of other marksmen that are just infinitely better than Akshan. The only reason I could see you picking Akshan is maybe for like, because you want the revive and you're gonna pair him with, I don't know, maybe like an enchanter, or I have played Braum, with Akshan, and that was like okay, but it's I just think there are so many better picks. Alistar I'm gonna say is A. Alistar, he has good CC, he has good peel, he has good damage resist with his ultimate, and with tanks being, I would say a little bit better, or a lot better, especially with the right augments in this set, I'm gonna say he's A tier. Amumu's like B tier. He has lots of CC, although his damage has been nerfed quite a bit. Or not like too much, but like his damage is nerfed, and like there are a few other champions that I feel like have like just as good engage in CC, with a little bit more damage, or maybe a little bit like better heal and setup for carries. So he's gonna go B. Anivia I think is A tier. She has good zoning. She can stall out early rounds with her wall and her. Well, she can stall out walls a lot with her wall, control zone with her ulti and wall, and in early rounds she's really hard to like lock down because of her or she's easy to lock down. She's just like hard to lose with early because of her egg. And if her egg is on top of her res spot, it actually will continue to res her ally. Itemization is decently good for Anivia. So I think she's like alright. I think she's pretty good. Annie I don't think is, if you get Minion Mancer and you can like pair her with like Ivern or Yorick or something like that, she's alright. Her burst is still pretty good. I'll say she's A tier. Aphelios is C tier. I think he's a better marksman than Akshan. And he actually has really good damage. Managing your guns is so hard though. You're so immobile. And also a lot of control mages are pretty good, like Anivia, Azir, Orianna, and Aphelios really hates them. He hates dealing with them because he just can't walk up. But in the right spot, he can be really well. If you pick him like as second pick champion, then I think he can do okay. Ashe. Ashe, I think, is also C tier. She's actually really good as like a poke champion. Um, Especially if like for example, like there's the skilled sharpshooter augment. I don't remember exactly what it's called. But it refreshes cooldown if you hit somebody with an ability or 400 range. That on Ashe can actually make her really good at poking. Aurelion Soul is B. He gets decently stacks, he can control a lot of zone, he does good damage. Although there are champions that he just instantly loses to. But in places where he's good, he's really, really good. But I feel like he's too coin flippy to be like A or S or Z tier. Azir, I think Azir is not Z tier, S tier. I think Azir is like kind of slept on. He does really, really good damage. It's gonna be even better once he can do on hit with his W. Oh, if that change ends up going through. Because like I usually just get Nashor's Tooth first item on him. He does good damage. He can control zones really well, especially choke points. With his soldiers, and also with his ult, he has good decent mobility. He can control planes really well with his soldiers. And also you can like when it gets to like later in the round, he can ult people out of the circle with his ulti, and it's just really good. Bard I think is A tier. He has good damage. People have been going AP on him recently, and he does really, really good damage. He has decent mobility. His Tempered Fate is really, really good. Although I feel like if you're looking, I don't want to put him S tier because I have noticed in some lobbies if you put him against certain champions, he just like feels kind of useless. So that's why I don't want to put him up like too high, but he's like pretty good. He does like kind of like Annie. Bel'Veth I think is A tier. She scales decently well. She gets a decent amount of stacks. She does really, really good damage. Problem is like she has problems with control mages that can like control where she can go because she can't get her dash through walls. So it's like with Anivia and like Azir and like Cassio, she has a really hard time like approaching because she's limited by terrain. So like I don't think she's pretty good weakness there, but she does good damage, and in the right lobby she can do pretty good. Blitzcrank is C tier. I have been seeing like some Blitzcrank and Vigar stuff where people are like hooking people into the Vigar thing and like just going full AP on Blitz and one-shotting. It's not the most reliable thing in the world. If you go full AP, if you miss your 1Q, you're basically useless, and you can get bursted down pretty easily. So like he's like a really hit or miss kind of guy. Brand I think is A tier. He's good at zoning. He has good damage. With Magic Missile, he's ridiculous. It's just insane. Braum is B tier. I would say with certain picks, Braum is like S tier, but he can't always slot in with just random people. He's really like champion dependent. So he's gonna go there. Bel'Veth is so weird. Bel'Veth I want to say is S tier, but sometimes I'm gonna put her S tier, but like, how do I put this? Sometimes she looks like she single-handedly is winning the game, and sometimes she sits there and I feel like this champion does absolutely nothing. I don't play her because I don't like her playstyle, but like, I've seen her pop off a few games and just single-handedly win. She does good damage. She can be really hard to burst down, especially if you pair her with certain champions, but like, I don't know, I don't like her, but I can't argue with the results. Caitlyn is B tier. I've seen people going like that full lethality build and just like trying to one-shot people with her ult and her Q. It seems to work decently well. If people, against certain champions though, you do have the problem where they can rush you down, but you can also control terrain decently with your W, although that's not always going to save you. But, I don't know, she seemed alright. I'm gonna say... Where do I want to put Camille? Camille is C tier. feel like there are champions that kind of lock down and does what she does better than her. Like her Q and her Q does a lot of damage late game. Her passive is also like decently good, although I don't know. I just never see this champion do well, because I feel like other people just do what she does but better. Cassio's A tier. She can control terrain really, really well. She just flat out shuts down a lot of champions. She's really, really strong with like her constant DPS. Although if you're up against like champions that outrange her, she feels like the most useless thing in the world and she can't do anything. Cho'Gath is, I want to say A tier also. You have two builds you can go, so you can go full AP burst or you can go like tank. So he's like a really good first pick. And then that leaves you flexible enough to in draft, where if you go Cho first pick, and then your teammate picks to counter the enemy champions, he can go like glass cannon AP or tank, depending on what will suit his ally the best and stop the enemy's like win con. So I think he's really good. Quirky is S tier. His damage is ridiculous. He gets his package is really, really strong. Packages can single-handedly just win you rounds. He has good itemization, and I just think he's really, really good. Darius is, I'm gonna put Darius in B. Against certain champions, he just flat out wins. However, I just don't think he can, like, against other champions, I don't think he can do it consistently enough to be considered, like, A or S. Diana, I think, is A tier. I think she's really, really strong, and I had a friend who's been testing out some Echoes of Helia build on her, and it seems, like, decently good. I think he's only played, like, 2 or 3 games, but in all 3 games, it actually looked really, really strong, so I want to see where that keeps going. Mundo is S tier. Mostly because, not because he excels at doing anything, but being a meat shield. He can get pretty high AD later on into the game. And he's just there to be a brick wall and just auto-attack people, but that's all he needs to do. Also, later on with his ult, he can stall into the round, he can stall with his ulti very well. So I think he's, like, pretty good. Draven. Draven is C tier. Draven is like, Draven's so weird. Sometimes I see Draven do like really, really well when he can get a few kills early and he can really just snowball with extra items, and he can basically always secure top 2 if he can get 2 kills early game, 2 or 3 kills early game. Especially if, like, oh my god, I saw Draven once get contract killer, and he got 3 kills early game. He was like, oh god, it was ridiculous. However, it's just he can't do it like every single game. He's not consistent enough, but he's like okay. Echo is alright. He does really good burst damage. He's really good against like long range poke champions. His ulti can save you in quite a bit of situations. He has good control over the plants, because especially on the forest, and especially in the forest, you can just W the plant and basically just push everyone off of it. It's a really good zoning tool, even if you don't stun anybody, so I think he's like pretty good, but some of these champions up here are a little better. Elise is B tier. She has good damage. She can win you a lot of games early game, early into the rounds, but like sometimes she only does one thing, and if she's like in a situation where she can't do her one thing, which is one-shot people, she just turns into like a cocoon bot. But if you wanted somebody for like CC, you could pick so many other champions that would be infinitely better. Evelyn. Evelyn. I want Evelyn to be good. And in certain comps, like her magic resist, like shred, is so good. She does so good damage, but it takes so long to get there. And I feel like once people get used to like what you're doing, is maybe you can cheese people early on into the mid rounds, but once you get later and people figure out what you're gonna do, they start like really playing like very, very cautious, and it becomes significantly harder to do what you want to do, depending on their champion. But I don't know. I think she's B tier. Ezreal's E tier. This champion's fucking broken. He does so much damage. He has so much mobility. If you are really, really good at Ezreal, you can just single-handedly win the games. His itemization is really good. You can buy a mixture of AP and AD items if you need to, depending on the situation. It's just ridiculous. Fiddlesticks is, I want to say, A tier. He does really, really good damage if you can land your ulti. He can single-handedly win fights, and also if you take the healing and shielding starter item early on into rounds, he can just win by stalling out with his W. And I think he's really, really good. Not as good to be like C and S tier, but pretty good. Fiora is Z tier. I mean, like in this game mode, it's ridiculous that she's allowed to do what she does. Her itemization is really good. She does good damage pretty much to anybody. There's a lot of champions that just build like full tank and need healing. Especially with Plague Spreader, but she has percent max health true damage. She just like nukes him down. She has CC immunity with her W. I think she, like, in the right hands, she's broken. Fizz B tier. He's similar to Evelyn, but like in the sense that like he's really, really good at what he does, is like one-shotting people. Or I guess I say he's more similar to Echo, where he's really, really good at one-shotting people, especially at Pope champions. However, if you can avoid his ulti, his damage just falls off a cliff, and it feels like he can't do anything for the rest of the round. He can kind of stall out a little bit with his E, but like it's not consistent. I wouldn't pick him. But like, if you're proficient enough at him, you can squeeze some wins out of him earlier. Galio's D tier. He does no damage. He's not that tanky, and he's just his ult isn't really that good, I don't think, and it's just, I don't know. He's a terrible champion. Gangplank is S tier. A lot of the crit and lethality items you have access to and augments in this game are ridiculous on him. Later on into the game, he can just straight up one-shot you. I once got one-shot by just auto-queued by Gangplank in the late game. Who was I playing? I think I was playing Corky. Don't quote me on that. But he just, it was just ridiculous. He just flash auto-queued me and I died. And I've seen this happen like a few times where he just can completely control fights. He has CC immunity with his W. His R can control zone, and Barrels can control zone really, really well. He's really, really strong. Garen. If you go full damage Garen, I feel like he's really, really good. You just basically just go all in and nuke a target. He's really, really good at what he does. He's decently beefy with his W, even if you go full damage. I think he's just a really, really good champion. Gnar is D tier. I just don't think he's consistent. You're not always going to be able to survive long enough to get your ulti. And also, I've noticed even when he gets his ulti, sometimes people can just like kite him and time out his ulti, and then he just kind of goes back to doing nothing. And I just don't think he's that good. Gragas I think is A tier. He does really, really good damage. As well as, like, he does good damage, but he doesn't always have to go damage. I like him because he's flexible, kind of like Cho'Gath. You can go glass cannon, or you can go full tank if you need to. He has good CC. He can peel, he can engage, he can do a little bit of everything, and I think that's really, really good. Graves is A tier. He's similar to Garen, that with certain builds, you can just go in and just, your whole goal is to just go in and nuke somebody. He really, really excels at that. A lot of, especially if they're playing like a marksman character, or mage, not Gameplank. Graves is really good to just throw his W on them, and it makes it like impossible to play. So I think he's pretty strong. Not S tier or Z tier strong, but pretty good. Gwen is S tier. This champion can single-handedly just win you the game. Her damage, late game, can just shred through even the tankiest of people. It's ridiculous. Her immunity, and her shroud is really, really good. And like the sustain you have if you go the Omni Vamp item is just really, really strong. Really, really good champion. Hecarim is want to say B tier. Sometimes he can be really, really good, but sometimes he feels like a S tier champion, but sometimes he feels like a C or D tier champion. It really depends on the lobby, the items you go, and the augments you get. He's really reliant on a lot of things going right for him, but when things go right, he's basically like an S tier champion. So I'm gonna like balance it and just put him in the middle. Hammerninger's A tier. They nerfed him quite a bit. Minion Mancer. Can he get Minion Mancer? I'm pretty sure he can. I think so. But every game I've seen him, he seems to do okay. I've won with him on my team once. He's really good at controlling zones and stuff, but although champions like him and Shaco just aren't as good as they used to be, because the circle is like random now, so you can't just camp the center anymore. So if you place all of your turrets at one side of the map and then it shows up on the other, the circle closes in on the other, you're just kind of shit out of luck. But I still think even with that, he's pretty good. Lowy is A tier. Against certain champions, in comps, she just wins. She can also even the playing field a lot with her E. Where if, I've experienced games where I'm playing a melee champion and, a lot of characters will, like, be able to kite me out, and then my, teammate ended up picking Lowy. I believe this happened twice. And Lowy, with her E, really even the playing field because, I couldn't get kited out in the sense that you can't get kited out in the sense that Lowy basically brings the champion to you and it does ridiculous damage in the late game. And if you can survive long enough and control the plates and the points, if they try to get onto him, you can just ulti as a Lowy. I think she's really, really good. Irelia is bad. You can't stack your passive with your Q, and I don't know. It's just, I've seen this champion picked only when Arena first started, and I've never seen her since. She's just not good. Ivern is Z tier. This champion's so fucking broken. His R is really, really good. He can provide frontline, even in a backline, even if you pick backline with him. The new support itemization is really, really strong on him. He's just a broken champion. His plants are really, really good also. He's deceptively tanky. He can make teams deceptively tanky even if they're only squishy champions. Just because the raw amount of shielding you can provide for them. It's just really, really strong. Janna is B tier. I've seen people try to play like some really cheesy like Janna strats where she like waits till the circle is like closed and then she ults, but like I've never seen it work. Never ever seen it work. And if you're gonna pick a enchanter, there's so many other better enchanters. Jarvan is A tier. He has good damage, good control. He can shred armor with his Q. Just a generally good champion. He's decently beefy. Pretty straightforward. Jax is A tier also. Good damage, good engage. He can get really, really tanky and do a lot of damage with his ultimate. He has good itemization with Zhonya's and also AD items. And I just think it's a really, really good champion. Jace. Lethality isn't as good as it used to be. If this was old Arena, I would have put him Z tier, but I think he's just A tier now. As lethality, like pure lethality builds just don't feel as strong anymore. Jhin is C tier. I don't know. He does like decent enough damage. He has decent mobility. Not in the sense that he has like a dash, or if you go Gale Force he has a dash, but in the sense that he can like really kite people out, especially late game if he gets the right augments with his movement speed. Although sometimes he just kind of sits there and does nothing. And I feel like that's 80% of the time he's sitting there, feels like he's tickling you, and it's only the other 20% where he actually feels like he does something. Jinx. Jinx has good DPS. It's really hard to like If you pair her with an enchanter, like the red enchanter, or like, yeah, if you pair her with red enchanter, I think she can actually be B. But there are certain comps that just like stop you and you can't really do anything about it and you feel completely useless. So I'll leave her C. Darius. I swear we already did Darius. Did we not already do Darius? Did I put champion somewhere else thinking it was Darius? I swear I already did Darius. Yeah, we're on Jinx. This is alphabetical. So yeah, I had to put where did I put Darius? Oh. I think he was B tier. That would make sense to me. Because I feel like he's either B or A, but I feel like he's a little too weak. Okay, we'll put him there. Cassante. Cassante is S tier. This champion seems really, really good. He seems really, really broken. There's a lot of champions that rely on combos, and he's really good at separating them. He has good damage, he's tanky, and if paired with the right champion, he can just take over again. Kaisa is... Oh, she's so close to being Z tier. Actually, I'm going to put her Z tier. She has build flexibility, she synergizes a lot with AP and AD items. You can, especially, you can even do like a hybrid build, where I went on hit Kaisa, and don't build lethality. If you build lethality, you're trolling, and you're bad at the game. Where I built full on hit on her, and I got the augment that allowed me to proc on hits with my abilities, and I got Infernal Soul, and so I got the best of both worlds. I was basically able to be poke Kaisa with my W because it applied all my on hit effects, and it procced Infernal Soul. But I could also do lots of DPS with my attack speed and on hit items. It was ridiculous. Even without that though, she synergizes with a lot of items. She has lots of different builds. She can go poke, she can go on hit. Lots of augments work on her. I think she's really, really good. Callista is B tier. She's probably better than all of these marksmen, except she does have some weaknesses, but she has good synergies, especially with like Alistar or a lot of engaged champions, or some champions that are really good up close, but they have a hard time engaging. She can use her ulti to basically give them the engage that they normally have in their kits. So I think she's really good for that, and she can kite people decently well. So I think she's really, really good. Karma is S tier. She does good damage with certain augments. She can go AP, you can go tank, you can go support. She's very, very flexible. She can do a little bit of everything. It's really, really good. Karthus, I want to like Karthus. Oh my god, I want to like Karthus so much more than I do. He feels like he has so much potential, but I just never see him do anything. I've never been able to do anything on him. I think the highest I ever got with Karthus was the highest I ever got with Karthus is like 2nd place. It's just, I want to like him, but I can't. He's just, I don't know, he just doesn't have it. Kassadin is D tier. Okay, the problems with Kassadin is it's so hard to get to a point where you can just run over people. But if you can get to that point, no one can stop you. It's ridiculous. With the right augments, you just win instantly against everyone. But it's so inconsistent. Katarina is A tier, I think. She does good damage, as long as you don't go the shitty fucking Heartsteel build. If you go the shitty Heartsteel build, I hate you. If you do that, you're trolling, you're bad, and I don't know, your parents probably don't love you very much. It's just not good. Don't do it. S tier. Kale is really, really good. You have good itemization with all the new items. You can do AP and AD. I even once basically was unstoppable because I got the you can get the augment where you do as much physical damage as your ability power, and on Kale it is ridiculous. She can synergize with a lot of different augments very well also, and she can provide immunity to a lot of different pairings. Kayn. Kane is really, really good, especially now that we have second pick. Because normally in the past you had to blind pick Kane, but now you can pick him against champions that are really, really good for him. So, for example, I never pick Kane first pick. I almost always try to pick him for second pick, where my enemy already is drafting like, they've drafted like 3 slow melee champions like Ornn and like stuff like that, or not Mordekaiser, I guess kind of Mordekaiser, or like Maokai and stuff like that, where I know it's real. I'm gonna be able to get stacks against every single team. Against that is really good. Kennen is so slept on. I think this champion's so fucking broken. He does so much damage. He has so much mobility with his, like, he's deceptively mobile with his E. He's deceptively tanky with his E. He has good CC. He can control planes really, really well, especially on certain maps and control zones with his ulti. You can sometimes sometimes ult twice in a fight, with just like 2 plants or something like that. Eventually, it's just really ridiculous, and I think he's slept on. And he's really, really good with the crit AP item also. Like, I think he's just broken. Kha'Zix, he's C tier. He's not as bad as these, but he's not good. He's Kindred is A tier. I don't think she's as good as she was. I feel like people have figured out how to deal with her a lot more. Although if she's paired with like Taric or something, she becomes a little bit stronger, but Taric's not as good of a place as he was. But she's like she does decent DPS, she gains stacks throughout the game. And she's decent mobility, so she's alright. Actually, I'll put her in A tier. Kled is B tier. He does decent damage. He can do pretty good engage with his ulti against certain champions. Although it feels like he's missing something every time I play him. I don't know. Kog'Maw is probably B tier also. He is a really, really good AD carry if played with paired with the right champions. Better than Jinx, I think. Like if you pair him with like a Milio or a Lulu, he's I feel like significantly better. If we were assuming not Milio or Lulu or anything like that, I think he's D tier, but given the case that you're probably going to pick him in a pair, he's B tier. LeBlanc is fucking D tier. She doesn't feel like she does any damage. If you're going to pick an AP assassin, just pick like Diana, heck, Fiddlesticks acts better as an AP assassin than she does. She's just not very good. Don't pick him. Don't pick her. Lee Sin is A tier, I think. If you go fully Thallid. Sorry. If you go fully Thallid, he can just one-shot people. He can win you enough games early game, depending on certain situations, that you are guaranteed top 2, assuming your teammate is not completely brain dead. So I think he's really, really good. Leona is S tier. I don't know. I feel like this champion wasn't as good in the previous iteration of Arena, but I feel like as tanky champions are a lot better now. I feel like she's significantly better, especially if you can get like the bread and butter or bread and cheese or whatever they are, and she can just infinitely CC you, and she's like sometimes can feel like almost unkillable. I've seen people go Divine Sunderer, and also deal like significant damage and have decent sustain through it. So I think she's like pretty good. Lilia is really, really good at kiting people out, certain team comps out. She can be decently tanky if you build certain items on her, and do really, really good damage. However, against certain champions, it feels like she has no chance of winning, which is why I don't consider her S or Z tier, but I think she's really, really good. Lissandra, I don't know, against certain comps where you might be able to pick her as like a second pick if you can see in the first pick they commit too hard to like having to instantly win with one champion. Like for example, if you see somebody like first pick Master Yi, you know that if they're like competent, they're gonna be putting their hands in the Master Yi basket or something like that. And Lysandra, with her ult and her W, is really good at stopping those kind of things. Or like, I guess a better example would be like Kaisa or Ezreal, where she can like lock them down and stop their mobility and stuff. Lucian is B tier. With certain augments and certain pairings, he can be really, really good, but sometimes he's like a C tier champion, so I'm gonna put him middle third. Lulu, with certain pairings, she is broken, but I'm gonna stick her B tier. Lux is... she's as bad. No, because I've seen Lux in certain pairings. She can just straight up nuke people. There are probably better poke champions and better support champions, but she's not like the worst. Malphite is A tier. You can go AP or you can go tank depending on the situation. So if you first pick him, based off what the enemy drafts in the second half of the draft, you can pivot to whatever will best help out your ally and best fit the game. And I feel like that's a really good thing. And with certain augments, he's... oh god, he's a monster. Malzahar is A tier. Or do I want to put him S tier? I'm going to put him S tier. He has really, really good damage against certain team comps similar to Lysandra. He's just better than Lysandra. He's really good at zoning because he has like zone control with his Q and his W. So similar to Azir in the fact that he can control space, but also can signal like just point and click lock down people like Lysandra. He's really, really good. Maokai's A tier. He's tanky. You can do like a hybrid AP build. He's good at CCing people. He has decent sustain, decent damage. Can control certain areas with the plants very well with his saplings. Like, he's a really, really good champion, just not as powerful as these. Master Yi is B tier. Sometimes he can single-handedly win the game with certain like ally champions and items and augments, but like it's not consistent enough to always be there. Milio, similar to Lulu. Misfortune, very ultimate reliant, very build reliant. I'll put her C tier. Mordekaiser, you can be either AP and or like the assassin, not the assassin, the healer type build. The one with like Moonstone and stuff, so that makes him pretty flexible. Support itemization is, I think, kind of slept on. So flexibility makes him really, really good, although he does have some weaknesses that can be exploited, but I feel like in most games, if you do him as like a second pick, he can be really good. Morgana is B tier. She doesn't have as good zone control with her Q because once you miss it, you can walk up, whereas Azir or a Nivea or like some other control mages, they can just put their thing down and you can't walk up for several seconds, whereas Morgana, once she throws her Q and she misses it, you can just run at her. But she has decent protection with her E. Yeah, I think she's B tier. Nefiri is C tier. They just nerfed her so much. She used to be like decently good, but I just if you're gonna pick an assassin, like a AD assassin, just pick so many other things besides her. Nami is C tier. There are champions or there are enchanters that can do what she can, but better. Nasus, D tier, don't pick him. Nautilus is B tier. He has decent CC, decently tanky. Lots of CC, decently tanky, and with certain arguments he can be a monster and he has decently pairings, but he's not good in every single situation. Not even as like a second pick, so it really depends on what your ally champion is and what augments you get. Nico is A tier. She has good burst. She can dodge so many things with her W. She can't dodge things as a minion like she can in normal Summoner's Rift, so that's not as good. But she's decently good at what she does. She does good damage. Better than a lot of some other burst champions. Her CC with her E is also really, really good. Nidalee, don't pick Nidalee. Yeah, I'd put her there. Nyla, with certain pairings, she can be decently well, but by herself, if she's not paired with specific things, she does nothing. Nocturne, kind of similar. Nunu with like this healing build that's going around looks decently okay. He looks like he does decent damage. He can control the zone really late into the match with the circle with his ulti. So I think he's like a pretty good character. Olaf, he's Olaf. That's the best I can describe it. Orianna is Z tier. She's broken. She does so much damage. She has so much good zone control. She can really actually clutch out rounds with her E and W on an ally to give him movement speed to get to plants and stuff. Can choke points. She's ridiculous. Really good champion. Ornn is, oh my god. I think Ornn is like A tier. He's really tanky, lots of CC. And one day I want to play Ornn or have my teammate play Ornn. And one of us gets the, we try to like roll and we get the mythic items, because I'm pretty sure his passive is worded upgrade all the mythics on your team. So if you buy all mythic items, Ornn will upgrade all your mythic items. I want to try it so bad. Pantheon is A tier. Really good burst. He has decent itemization. He can go bruiser or he can go full like lethality assassin. He can really clutch things out with his ulti sometimes. He can block lots of damage with his E. I think he's really good. Poppy, you can go full lethality or full tank. You can one-shot people. You can control zone with your W. You can limit a lot of champions with your W. You can control the circle with your ulti and your E. And I think you're really, she's a really good champion. Hike is B tier. Sometimes I see him pop off, but sometimes I just see him kind of lay down and die. Similar to Kiana. Sometimes I see her absolutely pop off and is like incredibly ridiculous, or she does nothing, so B tier. Quinn, don't play Quinn. Rakan is actually, Rakan I feel like is really good. He has good engage. If you go full AP, I think he has really good damage. His shield becomes ridiculous if you go full AP. And if you can swap in like if you can get the augment that allows you to, that creates like an earthquake every time you dash, you can just, oh my god, it's ridiculous. Really good. Rammus is C tier. If you see, I don't know, if you're like second pick and you see them pick 3 super attack speed heavy champions in a row in the first pick draft, then maybe I guess he's good, but most of the time no. Don't pick Rek'Sai. Rell. I want to put Rell in S. I think she's really good, and I think she's slept on. She's so good at CC. If you build Evershroud on her, I think it is. It does 25% damage to people you CC from your allies. It's so good. I think she's so slept on. She has so much CC. She can become so tanky. If you want to slap in a demonic embrace and do a little damage yourself, I think you can. I think she's really good. I think she's slept on. Renata Glask, A tier. She's pretty good. I would say one of the better enchanters. She can control a lot of zone with her ulti, and she can also bail people out with her W. Renekton is B tier. Sometimes he can do really good, especially if you do like the lethality build where you just try to like R and then you just flash try to one-shot a target. Although I don't know, sometimes against certain comps he just like can't do anything, especially a lot of these champions up here he really struggles against. Bad. Rumble is Z tier. This champion's ridiculous. The magic resist you get on your E, even if you build no, first of all, I feel like building magic pen is really, like, having access to magic pen is really easy in this game mode. And this champion does ridiculous amount of damage. I just go Leandries. I don't build Night Harvester. If you build Night Harvester, you're trolling. Just build Proto Belt and or Leandries. It's incredibly broken how much damage this champion does. I think he's really good. Rise is B tier. He does okay damage, he has okay control, but like there are champions like up here that can do what he can but better. Samira is also B tier. With certain champion pairings, I guess she can be like okay and against certain teams, but like it's not reliable enough. Sejuani, similar. Senna I would say is A tier. She has really good range, she can get souls pretty quickly, and she pairs decently well with a lot of the champions up here. And she has ridiculous amount of like range in the late game where a lot of the control mages like might end up actually like really suffering against her, because she can just outrange their zone of control, and some champions really struggle with that. Seraphine is broken. I think she's really good. I think she's slept on. Set is similar, although I wouldn't say he's like slept on. I just think he's really good, really good. He has good damage, good itemization. He's really good at shutting people down. He can help lock down people with his ulti. Even in some situations, he can win you matches by throwing people out of the ring and eating them like inside, so he just suicides to take somebody out with him. I think he's decently good. Shaka's not as good as he was, but I feel like he's still decently okay. Yeah, similar to Heimerdinger. Like, they're just not as good as they were, but they're decent enough at what they do. Shen, bad. Shyvana, B. Singed. Singed is S tier. Really good with augments. He's really, really tanky. Does a lot of, can shut down a lot of champions with his puddle. He can pull people away from plants with his E, which is really good. I think he's a pretty good champion. Not as broken as these, but pretty good. Sion's probably C. I want him to be better, but I just don't think he is. Sivir I feel like is decently okay. Actually I'm gonna put her A. Her Q can do pretty decent damage. Her W, so she can hit both targets. Her E gives her decent amount of safety, and her ult allows her to engage or run away decently fast. Better than a lot of these other AD carries. I think she's okay. Yeah, we'll put her B. Skarner, I want to like Skarner, but I just don't think he's good enough. Sona, there's so many other better enchanters than Sona. Some of these like fighters are better than Sona, so it's like at being enchanters. So it's like, yeah, unfortunate. Soraka is B tier. She's a little better than Sona because you only have to. Sona's good in like Summoner's Rift because she can do it. She can apply everything to all 5 people, but that's not really an issue because in this mode there's only one other person. So Soraka's just so much better. Swain is S tier. You can go full EP, you can go Moonstone, you can go like off tank. He's really, really flexible. He has lots of control. Especially when you have your ulti up, a lot of people can't really kill him. He's a really good champion. Silas he's decent fighting. He can steal a lot of really, really strong ultimates from all these champions. He has good damage. I've also seen him similar to Kayle, where he gets the augment, where he does as much physical damage as he does have AP, and then hugging that with his passive is really, really easy and really, really strong. Syndra is A tier. She has a lot of zone control, a lot of single target damage. Not much more needs to be said. Tahm Kench, I feel like he's slept on. I feel like he's really, really good. You can do kind of like a hybrid AP build where you do a lot of damage. I've seen him also be able to just pick people up, and then he'll like, I actually had a game where I was playing against a Tahm Kench, and the circle was closing, and I was gonna win the round for the most part. I was almost guaranteed to win the round, until he got all of his stacks. He ate me and just sprinted me into the middle of the fire and just spit me out and then just slowed me. Similar to Set, where he can like just suicide to like win you rounds, and that can guarantee you top 2 in some situations. Talia. I want to put Talia S tier. Actually, I'm gonna put Talia S tier. I think she does good damage. She has good zone control. She can stop a lot of champions that rely on their dashes. Her ulti is like okay. You can use it to like stop people from reaching certain plants, or you can use it to stop people from being able to get back into the circle. It's decently good. Talon, ugh, not good. Taric, how you fell from grace. He's like an okay champion now. Teemo is A tier. His shrooms are ridiculous, and I've also been seeing people build the on-hit healing build on Teemo. It doesn't look as strong as some of the other champions, but it's still like really, really good from what I saw. Thresh. Thresh is C tier. Tristana, D tier. Trundle, C tiers. Trundle, actually, Trundle is B tier. Actually, now I think about it, tanky champions are a lot better, and Trundle is really, really good against him. He has decent damage, he has good control. With his E, he can zone people off of plants, he can lock people down pretty decently well, especially low mobility targets. Yeah, I think he's really, really good. Tryndamere, I've seen do okay a few times, but overwhelmingly I see him do nothing. Twisted Fate, even with his like alter passive, I don't think it's that good. Twitch is really, really good. I feel like he's one of the best AD carries in the game mode. And he's less reliant on certain supports like Kog'Maw because of his stealth. He's allowed to put himself into safer situations where people can't run him down because they can't see him. Udyr is A tier. I've seen people go in lethality and it's fucking ridiculous. You can also do like a bruiser, like AP off tank kind of thing. Pretty flexible, does a lot of damage, decent control with his R. Really, really, I think he's pretty good. Forgot, I think is S tier. You can go like the healing build, or you can go like full bruiser, you do good damage. You can eat people away from plants. The execute and the fear is really, really good, especially if you get farther into the circle closes. I think he's a good champion. Varus is also really good, I think. Actually, I think he's good for like an 80 carry, so I'll put him at like the top B, symbolically, because I feel like for an 80 carry he's like really, really good, but I don't think he's as good as Twitch or Senna. Although you do, one thing to keep in mind is you are flexible in the sense that he can go AP, he can go lethality, or he can go on hit, depending on like what the team needs. So in certain situations his flexibility does give him a little bit more freedom. Although I'd rather have Twitch. Vayne is S tier. I don't care what anyone else says. She's similar to Kaisa, but just not as good, but she hits a lot of the same points. Vygar is S tier, I think. The amount of zone he can control, the amount of AP this champion can get, the itemization is so good for him. I think he's really, really good. Vel'Koz, I want to like Vel'Koz, I really, really do. But I just feel like I can move him up to B tier, but like I don't know. I wish he could do so much more. Don't play this champion. Don't play this champion. Don't play this champion. Victor is okay. Vladimir. I feel like Vladimir's A tier. He has decent sustain. He's so item reliant, but you can probably, I feel like in a lot of games you can at least get top 2 on Vladimir. Depending on who your ally is and how things go, but like, or what augments you get, but I feel like in most games you can try to at least play for top 2 with Vladimir. Volibear, C tier. Warwick is A tier. Good sustain, decent damage, pairs really well with a lot of these champions up here. His fear can also be really good. He has good lockdown with his ulti. I think he's pretty good. Wukong. I've seen lethality Wukong do really, really good. Although bruiser Wukong is like okay, I guess. He does a lot of disruption with his ulti. He can stall really well with his W. I think it's his W, which is his stealth. And I feel like he's pretty good. Saya, I want to like Saya, but I feel like, I don't know, I feel like she struggles so much in this game mode. She's just so, even if she can like dodge things with her ulti, she's still so limited by terrain. I don't know, I want the champion to be a lot better. Xerath. I'd say Xerath is similar to Vel'Koz. Samira, didn't we already do Samira? I swear we already did Samira. I think I put her B tier. She's B or C. Maybe a little bit more towards B. Nah, she's C. Xin. I want to like Xin. I want to like Xin so much. But I've never seen this champion do well. I'm gonna put him C tier. Yasuo, don't pick Yasuo. Yone is alright, I think, actually. His engage is really good. He has good damage. His itemization is alright. And he's really good. Yorick with certain pairings is A tier. With Yorick with certain pairings is like S tier. But overall, I'm gonna just say he's A tier. Yumi is B tier. I've seen people do really degenerate strategies where they will pick Yumi, she will go Moonstone, and then they'll pick a champion. Like, for example, I saw Riven, where Riven also went Moonstone and then built Spear Visage, and their whole strategy was she eventually actually managed to get the oh my god, what are these called? Those fucking, they're like the dolls that like go inside each other. So like every time she died, she would like be revived, and they would just use her mobility with Yumi's speed up and her Riven's natural mobility with her dashes, and they would just stall out to the end of the round, and then they would be able to just out-sustain the circle for a decent amount of time, and Yumi doesn't fall off when they have the one where they like get revived, smaller. Zac, I want to like Zac, but he's okay. He can do, I've seen people go full AP on him and he does like okay damage, but like, I don't know, he just doesn't feel like as good anymore. Zed is, I would say, probably one of the better like lethality AP champions. Zeri is B tier. Ziggs is, I want to say B tier also. Zillion is so fucking broken. This champion's ridiculous. I'm gonna put him C tier. I think he's really strong. Zoe, don't pick Zoe. Zyra is S tier. The amount of zoning control this champion can do, especially if you get Minion Mancer, she can pair really well with a lot of different champions. I think she's really strong. And she's really good at just applying effects. For example, I was playing a game where I ended up going Serpent's Fang on her, not necessarily because it's a good item on her, but because we were up against a Janna that was like the one where she's like attached to somebody. She built full shielding. I'm pretty sure she had some augments that like increased her. I don't remember exactly, but it was ridiculous. I played her for I built Serpent's Fang on Zyra for 2 rounds and stopped almost 7,000 damage of healing. It was ridiculous. It was like 65 to 7,000-ish. It was ridiculous. But the reason I felt like it was really good is because it procs off of her plants. Her little plant summons. So even if you don't hit him with an ability, it's really hard to dodge. Like, it's really hard to dodge Grievous Wound, Serpent's Fang, or any other procs from her. So I think that, or allies also. I think she's like a really good champion. And that's every champion, so thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Try to follow my Twitter and some of my other socials, and keep out for anything else I do. Bye-bye.